Howdy folks, I'm Rebecca Jolly from Jolly Alchemy, here today with a neutrino forecast for Saturday the 13th of September 2025. We are looking today at the juxtaposition cross of oppression and then moving into the left angle cross of informing. So we're moving from 4-1 into 5-1 and 5-2 as energies for today. So first, let's talk about the juxtaposition cross because that's a tiny but important slice of what's going on in the energy. So this cross of oppression, it sounds, it's an easy kind of thing to put a judgment on. And it's true that they're not easy people, these oppression people. Ra called these crosses political crosses because they're really trying to take those ideas from history and make a point of them for other people in order to be very influential on them, and they're very, very fixed in that. So they're always coming and giving their ideas to people, and he said that can be oppressive. I do have one example of this. Of course, these juxtaposition crosses are pretty rare because it's such a small slice of time in which these people are born, but having billions of people on the planet, there are a lot of them. Maybe you know one, and if you do, please let me know. I'm curious to learn more about all of the juxtaposition crosses. The example of this is John P. Strzelecki. He's an American author who wrote Big Five for Life. It sold millions and millions. So I haven't read it, but if you know anything about that guy, he's a juxtaposition cross of oppression. So when we move into the 5, then we're moving into the cross of informing and what actually changes there, because the surface of it doesn't change. We're still talking 47 and 22 line, 4 and then 5. What's changing when we move into the cross of juxtaposition, as opposed to the 4th line when we were in the cross of rulership, is the underpinnings, the what was happening 3 months ago, basically. So before that energy was 45 and 26, which made for these very powerful, I want to be in control, I want to influence people, I want to persuade them, change them, manipulate them, whatever. Now we're moving into the underlying energy being 12 and 11. So 12 is the gate of cautious communication. And it's, of course, communication of the moods. So what happens here is we get a manifesting channel activated, and that's some powerful stuff of its own. And the gate of ideas, which is on this side of the chart. And the ideas, of course, connect to 56, and that's the storyteller's gate, but 11 is just the ideas. So they have a lot of ideas for other people, and then they have the ability to inform them about it. This is one of the 3 main manifestor channels that can be connected in the chart. The first being the 35-36, which is our adventuring, experience hungry manifestors. And then, of course, we have the one we're talking about now, which is 12-22, our gracious, cautious communicators, basically masters of communicating about their emotions. And then we have the manifestors that are made connecting to the ego center, and these are our money-making manifestors. They're the ones who really, really want to figure out how to make money. Which is not a bad thing. It's just everything that comes out of the ego center is very powerful, just very like, rawr, go get it kind of thing. It's the that heart I talk about, like I call it the hard heart, with the G center being, of course, the soft heart, the center of love and direction, and the hard heart being that I want to do it, I want to get it, I want to have it, I want to be it, I want to control it, I want to just chewing on life. Do you have the heart for it kind of thing? Anyway, moving on. 47 line 5, 64 keys calls it devotion. Ra called it the saint. Of course, 64 keys is trying to remove some of the shocking language that Ra put into it so that it's more palatable, especially on a commercial level. That's as it may be. I think just the more information we have to make it clear and to understand it, the better. But you do have to have, when you look at human design, an overall attitude of, even if it seems like a really, really good or a really, really bad thing, it just is. There's no morality attached to it. So in this case, it's 47 line 5. We're still looking at mental oppression and how to make sense of it. The saint accepts the burden of finding meaning. So basically, they're just like, okay, the meaning may be there, the meaning may not be there. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to figure out, I'm going to, go with that. And Ra said that ends up being a very saintly energy because they're so connected with the energy of what it's like to be oppressed that they can help others. And so they reach out to others and say, hey, look, I know it's really tough, it's really difficult, it's really mentally oppressive, but let me help you with it. Let me, reach out and share what I know about this from my naturally it would be vast experience with mental oppression. 22 line 5, which is what we get in the earth, is directness that disregards codes of behavior. And in this case, that directness, because it's in the 5th line, can sometimes get away with it. But it's an interesting energy because everything about this 22 is really having to do with moods. And the people who carry this 22 energy have to be very, very careful that they don't do things when they're not in the mood. It's not going to be good for anybody. In fact, Ra he says one of his favorite stories about his assistant, Jürgen, who was going to help him at this conference he was giving one time. They were late. They were a day late, so everybody was just really on edge wanting it to begin when they got there. And they're rushing around trying to set it up, and all of a sudden he walks up to Ra and goes like, yeah, I'm not in the mood for this. I can't do it. And Ra said that took a lot of courage for him to come up and say that, but because he carries, I believe, what is it? Yeah, he carries the 12 multiple times. He understood very well what was going on with that 22, and he said, okay, fuck off then, do you. I mean, not in a mean way, but, go do you, we'll figure it out. Somebody else did it. They did the whole entire event, and it worked out just fine. And he said, that's the kind of dedication that you really have to following your moods in order to not be spreading chaos out in the world. But it's a very difficult thing to do, especially when you've agreed to do something, you've contracted for it, and then all of a sudden you show up and you say, yeah, sorry, I'm not in the mood. It's a good thing, but it's totally not socially acceptable. So we get this sort of energy of grace or disgrace in that expression of the 22 and the 22nd gate moodiness. So what happens is if the 22nd gate activation doesn't honor its moodiness, then it gets to be seen as disruptive, jumping the gun, sort of crude, because it didn't do it right. It didn't honor its moods. And of course, everything about that emotional system is challenging and difficult for us as humans because this is a new center for us, and emotional intelligence, we have the potential for it, but the capacity, it's just starting to develop. That's really what's going to be happening in the next phase of our development after 2027, when these babies start to be born with true emotional intelligence. Buckle up is all I have to say. And I will be making more videos about that bridging spider energy to help us buckle up for that. So the moon starts off at 20 line 6. 20 is, of course, this gate of the now. So we're feeling this energy already down here in Uranus, and we'll talk about this in just a minute. But this is line 6, wisdom, the wisdom to apply understanding. And that's, of course, right now in that 20th gate right there. Then when the moon is done with 20, which will be it's just minutes into today, it'll move to gate 16. That's the gate of skills there. And then it will go to 35, which is the gate of experience. So it's coming as a mirror on the other side. This is the jack of all trades. And then 45 is here, this gate of the gatherer, the teacher, the leader. And so it will be repeating, where is it? It's repeating the underlying energy from the cross of rulership, which doesn't actually show up as a reading, but we know it's there in the underpinning, the same way when we move to this left angle cross of informing, where we're moving out and dealing with other people, we have that 12 and the 11 supporting the 47 and the 22 underneath. So that's what that is. Okay, continuing with people energies, Mercury is sloshing around in 3, 4, 5, 6, but that's exactly what we're going through right now. So it's really just a general feeling of oppression, dealing of oppression, strengthening of oppression. And actually, in these days here, these are going to be challenging people in the future because they have 3 activations of the 47th gate. And I have to say, living with someone who has 3 activations of the 47th gate, that's a lot of mental oppression. These people are really, really bowed down by that, and it can lead to a lot of depression as they wonder, will I ever be able to make sense of it? Can I figure it out? It's a very heavy energy to try to carry in this world. Necessary, because somebody's got to deal with that. Somebody's got to churn with it and struggle with it in order to be able to make sense of it, which is one of the most important things we can do. So it's a very important energy for us, and that's what's going through Mercury now. Venus is starting off in 4-5, but because we covered that yesterday, role playing, we'll move to 4-5, which is a lot of what's going on today. And that is seduction, to harness formulas through seduction. This is an energy I carry. It's an aspect of the youthful folly. And what's going on there is it's not sexual seduction. It's the seduction of ideas. It's the seduction of being able to have an idea that you're skeptical about, and then you go, I wonder if this would work out. I wonder if that, and these ideas are seductive to other people. You tell me, are my ideas seductive to you? It's an energy that, it's part of the logical process, and so it's definitely supported by our society. I think that whole thing, the I Ching calls it youthful folly. The idea that someone might attempt to explain something and look a little stupid in the process is a little bit more acceptable than the 47 energy, which is what's on the other side of the 4, that trying to deal with just being confused and trying to make sense of it all the time. It's personal, but it's also collective, because you have to talk to other people to make sense of it. And so this energy is less understood and less well accepted. And that's why partly that 4722, or this left angle cross of informing, is a difficult thing, because the world is so used to being left brain focused that this energy that's really all about the right angle and is very necessary is also difficult to understand. But the 4-5, that's a little easier to understand. I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out. And maybe I'll look stupid, or maybe I will figure it out. It's okay. It doesn't really matter. 32, 4, and into 5 is what we're looking at for our Mars energy today. And this is the last of our people energies that tend to come to us through the people in our environments. And because I will be at the fair this day, I definitely will be seeing a lot of these people who carry the 20, the 16, the 35, the 45, the 47, the 4, and the 32. So let's look at that 32 real quick. The 32-5 is flexibility, flexible adaptation to changed circumstances. That 32 is going to be connecting my ambition here for hopefully some nice success and being able to talk to people and make a connection with people. That's that continuity to stay stable through changes. All right, we have some changes on the global scale today, so that's interesting. Let's look at that real quick. 25 in, let's see, Jupiter, Saturn. Saturn moves from 25.2 to 25.1, and it goes backwards because it is in retrograde, like all the 4 outer planets are right now. And it has an up arrow. So 25.1 is selflessness, selfless action free from motives. And I say, thank goodness, because we need some of that energy on the global scale. We do have, of course, 2 activations of the 25th gate, which is all about innocence and healing, and we definitely need that too. But this is a particularly sweet aspect of the of that energy, particularly because it has an up arrow on it. The innocent selflessness that acts without motive and faces the challenges. So this, I think, is the universe's way of bringing a little emotional support to us in times that are feeling difficult. The mental oppression is rising and rising, and there's this feeling of fuck everything, fuck society, I hate everything. I took a walk the other day with a couple of friends, and one of them said, yeah, well, we got to be careful crossing the street because you never know what kind of energy is out there today. It's all just like jungle. Everything's so horrible. And I'm not really living in that world. So it really took me by surprise that he would say that. I'm like, this is just the road, the street, the outside. Cars aren't running down pedestrians yet, I think. But it was interesting that he was sensitive to that energy, even though he himself did not carry it in his chart. So that's the shift there. And we also have our Uranus energy, which is 20.2 or line 2. It's staying there, but it's moving into a detriment. I don't quite understand how that happens. We'll definitely be talking to the 64 Keys people about that the next time we have a meeting together. But Uranus has been in 20 line 2 since the 7th of August. I looked it up. So we've already been feeling this energy a long time, over a month. And now all of a sudden it moves into the detriment. Well, the regular line, to review and remind ourselves, is dogmatism. It's 20. It's now energy. Dogmatic expression and selective understanding. Of course, that second line is doing something naturally without really understanding what's going on. It doesn't have the desire to research it like the first line does, and it doesn't have the energy to experiment with it like the third line does. It's just naturally being it. So it can tend to get into a little bit of a dogmatic rut. And in this case, the energy is going down, or to that end of the spectrum, which is dogmatic and limited understanding, which ignores everything that is seemingly irrelevant in a given moment. But it might not be irrelevant. It's just so much in the now that you don't really know how that's going to end out. And because they're not paying attention to details in that moment, something might get lost in the shovel of the now. So it's just something to be aware of. Our Neptune, which is also in 25, is staying stable. Jupiter, which is 53.6, is also stable. So that's very much about new beginnings. And then, of course, our 60 line 6 in Pluto, which is the opposite of that, wanting to stay and hold tightly to the traditions. So, what an interesting blend of old and new on the global scale. I'm sure those of us who watch the news, I don't, can see that playing out in that arena. There are no innate connections made in the chart today, so that gives us just connections that are made with our personal bodies as the transits cycle through and connect with our gates and channels. The song for today is Turning Wake by Ayla Nerio, or Nerio, don't know how it's pronounced. But I've just woken up to this woman and her energy and her music. Wow, this is powerful music for moving us forward into the future. I cried when I heard this song. Just the force of her spirit, her 55th gate, just a ton of emotional power to push us forward into healing and changing the future. I'm just tearing up now even thinking about it, but I looked into it a little bit and I noticed a bunch of her songs have come in to my stream, and I've liked them and put them in really important places for myself without actually recognizing this woman and her musical power. So, Turning Wake, what a big, powerful song for emotional leadership. And that's really what we're seeing here in the 22nd line, is moving into the fullness of emotional leadership, saying societal forms don't really matter as much as connection, as being able to express ourselves and be true to the validity of our feelings in the now. So yeah, a saintly uh leadership, a saintly emotional leadership energy is in this song. I highly recommend that you look it up if you aren't already familiar with this author or with this musician. And she's also working with these Polish ambassador people who were also extremely powerful in trying to create music that is leading us into the emotional times ahead. So definitely give that a check if you have some time on your hands today, or if you're looking for some sort of emotional inspiration. It surely was inspiring to me. Until we come back tomorrow with the last version of the right angle cross or left angle cross of Informing, y'all take care. Ciao.